Before we discuss how to use the workflow process, we need to discuss how to set up the templates used by the workflow process. By going to the Setup menu and clicking Templates, you will see we brought up a list of active templates. This specific template is a sample of what you could do within the system. This template is an email-based template that would float in today's date, contact first name, then float in the signature line of the owner of the contact into a given email that was produced by the workflow system. So each email that went out would get personalized based upon the contact's first name, today's date, and the signature line of the sales rep that was in charge of that contact. Once we have our template set up, we would go to the workflow setup. This is the basis of our contact automation system. The way the automation system works is there is a module that runs on our server that is constantly looking for orders, contacts, and companies that have a workflow set up on them. It looks at each entity and decides if the next step in the process needs to be executed. To set this up, we click on Workflow within the Setup menu. This brings up a list of active workflows. This workflow is designed to be alternating phone call and automated email workflow. It is set up to continue processing its steps until it reaches the final step in the process, and then it repeats back to the first step of the workflow. Every company can define different workflows for different customer types. The notes box at the bottom allows us to place notes about this specific workflow. This is just a way to remember what differences are between two workflows. I have many workflows set up in my production system, and sometimes I need the notes to remember what the differences are between two similar workflows. When you click on the Detail tab, you will see that each step of the workflow is set up here. When you click on step number 1, this step is defined as a phone call. The description of the step and several other pieces of information are also defined here. The activity type is how the system determines what type of activity to create. If this is defined as a phone call, the system will create a phone call activity and assign it to the owner of the contact. This activity is placed in the owner's to-do list. If this step is defined as an email, the system will create an email based on the template defined and the person the email is being sent to. Optionally, the owner of the account or contact can be automatically sent a copy of the email. These emails and other activities are kept in the customer and contact files permanently. Workflows can be set up to activate on an order, contact, or account. Since these workflows are user-defined, they can be adjusted to meet the requirements of your individual sales teams or sales reps. The number of days to the next step defines when the next step in the workflow is going to be executed. This is crucial to the system in order to properly adjust the number of times we contact a customer in a given time period. Since this workflow is set up to a 14-day rotation between phone calls and emails, we use 14 as the number of days to the next step. However, if we always wanted to send an email out and then follow that email up with a phone call the next day, this value would be set to 1. The second step in this workflow is an email activity. This workflow is set to use the previously defined template as the pattern to send out an email. In the event an email does not have a subject line set up, the system will place the text that is in the subject line of this workflow into the email's subject line. Since this step number 2 is the last defined step in the process, we need to tell the system to either start over or stop the workflow. In this instance, we have decided to start the process over at step number 1. Most customers choose to define enough steps to cover an entire year's worth of workflow processes. This allows them to use a variety of different emails in between phone calls. Then we start the workflow over, and the customer probably will generally not recognize the repetition. We can also add additional steps to this workflow to allow the system to send out additional template-based emails. As long as the number of days until the next step is kept accurate, the system will continue to execute these additional steps in the process. If customer 1 was placed on this workflow today, and next month customer 2 was added to this workflow, then customer 2 would start at the beginning of the workflow, while customer 1 would continue the process to the next step. Each customer is processed individually. This is the base concept on how to set up the workflow. The next thing we need to discuss is how we can apply this workflow to a customer or contact. By going to the contact screen within the customer screen, or straight to the contact screen, we are able to tell the system that we want the contact to be placed on a workflow, and then we attach a specific workflow to that contact. We could also define a workflow to a customer. However, we need to be careful using workflows at the company level. While this is the most common form of workflow used, we need to make sure we do not use a workflow that has emails as one of its steps. Here is the reason. If an email is being sent as part of a workflow that is attached to a company, the workflow process will send the email out to every contact within that customer. This may be what we want, we just need to be careful of using it. Once a workflow is assigned to an order, contact, or company, the back-end process will recognize the need to execute the first step in the workflow, and the appropriate activity will be created. So how can you use this in your business? It is so important to remember that no two customers are alike. One customer may purchase from you every day. These customers should be at the top of your call list. However, another customer may only buy something once a year. We do not want to forget the second type of customer, but we should not spend as much time cultivating a relationship with them as we do the first type of customer. Therefore, we should set our system up accordingly. The better the customer, the more physical touches they should receive. For my best customers, I set them up on strictly phone call workflows. And for slower customers, or customers who have not purchased at all from me, I would probably set them up on a mix of phone calls and automated emails. I may even place some of these leads or customers on an email-only workflow. Many third-party solutions are able to produce automated emails and call this workflow. However, if you're spending money every month for this service, remember, this is built into SrionCRM product at no additional charge. It is, in fact, the heart and soul of the system. It is always executing off of current data. If a customer changes their email address in the middle of an email campaign, our system will pick up the change and use the new email address. This is the basic concept of our CRM integrated template and workflow process. It is one of the crucial steps in the Sales Automation Tool Belt. If you would like a detailed demonstration of this solution, please give us a call at 813-265-3500. Thank you for taking your time to view this demo, and have a great day.